Hi, Soul Seekers. Ange Wilson, your host. I'm super excited to have you here today. We have a great guest who I met through a networking group, Polka Dot Powerhouse, and she's super inspiring. She's got a lot of things going on, and I wanted to get her on here and share her story. Today's topic is about reinventing yourself, and her story is pretty awesome. So, Jane is a wife and mother of two residing in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. After more than 2 decades in executive positions at high-tech companies like Cisco Systems and VMware, while raising 2 kids, she hit a wall. The frequent travel and the constantly on environment of high-tech was taking its toll. She made the difficult decision to step away and focus on herself. It was a huge adjustment to her lifestyle and to her budget. In an effort to reinvent herself, she now works part-time in a nonprofit called Wings for Success. We'll get into that in a little bit. Writes a blog about Cape May, New Jersey, and is on her way to completing a hypnotherapy certification training, which is something she's always wanted to do. Let's welcome Jane Gober.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy you're here.
I am too.
I am so happy you're here. So, give us a little bit about you. When were you born? Where were you born? Have you always been local? Kind of give us, like, paint your story.
So I was actually born in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And moved down here when my husband got a job at Vanguard. So
How did you guys meet?
Pardon?
How did you guys meet?
We actually met at work. We worked
Okay.
at the same company.
Okay.
And I worked at a very, very different industry. Before we moved down here. I was the director of product development for a needlecraft company.
Oh, wow.
So I was responsible for all of their original, I had a staff of designers who did the designing. And then we made prototypes and we did all of the packaging and we did the client success piece when people had issues. So I had about 5 departments, and in amongst that, I had about 12 employees.
Oh, wow.
But when we moved down here, I came down. I didn't have a job. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything about anything. And I decided one thing is I did not want to go back into the craft industry. It was it was a dinosaur. It still is a dinosaur. I knew that it wasn't longevity. So I ended up, I actually called my old boss and I said, Bob, I'm like going crazy here. The CEO of the company, like, I'm going crazy here. I need your help. Like, what do I do? And like I said, I was the director and he said, I'm going to tell you something you're not going to like, but I think you should temp. And I said, yeah, you're right. I don't like that. Like, I don't want to temp. And he said, hear me out. Just bear with me. You are going crazy. You're not bringing in any income, which drives you insane. You don't know anybody. You don't know where anything is around you. And your computer skills are dwindling by the hour. So, damn, what's the worst? You hate it, you stop doing it. So I signed up for a temp agency, went to a few things, and I gave them some criteria. I want a big company. I want someplace where I can be established. I want a long history. So they called me up one Friday and said, listen, we have an issue. We promised somebody in this little computer company to be the receptionist. And the person backed out at the last minute. If you do this for us, we will be forever in your debt and eternally grateful, and we'll get you your next assignment will be amazing. So I said, I will do it, but you get me out of there as quickly as you possibly can. So I said, what is it called? I said, what? She goes, it's like some sort of computer company in Berlin. It's like something. So I get there. It was Cisco Systems. Took me about a day to realize I was not at a small company. I was at a huge company. And so true to their word, they got me out there within a week. So I made my rounds saying goodbye to everybody. There were only 20 people in the office. And the head at the time called me in and said, listen, we have this job that's not even fully baked yet. but you'd be perfect for it. If you could give us about a month, give or take, we think that, you know, it's almost guaranteed it's going to be yours. So could you stay and do something else besides reception? So I was an executive admin. Took longer than a month, but I stuck it out. And they hired me as their field sales administrative manager, which I reported into a senior VP of sales, and I managed all of the administrators up and down the East Coast. And I ended up staying there for, you know, almost 2 decades, and ended up being in sales enablement and sales operations when I left. And then I moved to another small company, and after that wasn't a good fit. And then I moved to VMware, where I was the director of sales enablement for North and South America. And even though during my interview, everyone said work-life balance, we love work-life balance, and you have unlimited PTO, and there will be minimal travel, maybe once a quarter. Oh, no, that was not the truth. I was traveling to Palo Alto and Austin on a regular basis. And you have unlimited PTO if your boss approves it. And I would ask for oh, you know what? That's not really a good time. Could you postpone it and post? So it was crazy. So I did, I hit a wall. And my husband was insanely supportive, and he's like, you know what, just quit. And ironically, it was right before, I swear to God, right before COVID, right before all that hit. So everybody says, oh, you did it because of COVID. No, had I known COVID was coming, I wouldn't have, because I wouldn't have had to travel anymore, right? Half of that battle would have been gone. Anyway, I think the universe knew what it was doing. It knew that that wasn't really my path. And that's why I hit the wall before, like literally right before. So I left, and I went to a coach who helped me think about what I wanted to do next. And yes, in my intro, it's been a huge adjustment, and our lifestyle is not the same. I'm truly blessed that I could do this, but it's, you know, we're just not able to do the things that we used to do, but it's a balance, right? You figure out your priorities. And so she had me think about, what are the things that you've always wanted to do? What are the things that bring you joy? What are the things that kind of just resonate with your soul? And she's, you know, she gave me a book to read and make a list of things and think about it and really focus on it. So I ended up starting the blog because one of the things I always wanted to do was write. I originally thought I was going to write like a novel, and then I started doing that, and I was like, oh, that's a lot bigger than I realized it is. I don't know that that's in me. So then I ended up doing the blog, because we actually have a house in Cape May, and it's one of those things that lights me up. If anybody asks me, oh, we're going to Cape May, what can I, you know, what should I do? I'm like, oh, let me tell you, you know, you have to go to this restaurant and do this and do this and go here and go there. So a friend of mine said, you know, that's your thing. That's the thing you've been looking for. So I'm doing that, and it's been really fun. But it's not like a really full-time thing. I started working at Wings for Success, which is a nonprofit.
So before you go there, I want to back up a little bit. I want to ask you, so you worked for these companies for 20 years. Where did your kids fall into place? Like, when did you have kids? Did you have them? Because you have 2 kids, right?
I have a son and a daughter.
Yeah.
My son's 25, my daughter's 21.
Okay. So you had them. Yeah. Okay.
So that was, you know, that was a challenge in and of itself. And, you know, I adore my kids more than life. And it was tough because we moved down here because my husband started at Vanguard. Mm-hmm. But then he got recruited to Comcast. Like I said, we live in Phoenixville. So he was out the door at 6 o'clock in the morning, every morning, to go into the city. And he was back between 6 and 6:30. Now he did come back for sporting events and that sort of stuff. And if I really needed to travel, he was there. But most days it was me. So again, the universe sometimes knows what it's doing. I was able to not only able to work from home, but when I worked at Cisco, everybody I worked with was someplace else. So there was an office in Melbourne, still is. No, actually, no, they closed it. But I didn't work with anybody there. So I would go in from time to time, but I was always working from home. So it was a little bit easier to get the kids to the bus stop. Somebody left their saxophone at home and I had to run it to school.
Right.
Be there at the end of the day and do that kind of stuff. I was the one that made dinner. I did all that stuff.
That's a
So
lot.
I did that for years, which is part of the reason why my husband, not that he's not infinitely understanding, but he was supportive and said, look at, like, you literally like almost came apart at the seams. So I could go to have this career at Comcast. And I didn't have a small job. I had a big job. So, he said, now's your time to kind of focus on yourself and do some stuff. So, but it was tough. And, my kids are, have been thriving, super thriving. They're doing really well. My son just got into medical school. And my daughter is graduating on May 11th from Temple. And then she's going to go on to physician's assistant school. So it was crazy. And there were times that literally I thought I was going to come split in half. But it did all work out.
You were essentially doing two full-time jobs.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's really, you were doing both.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, and it's a lot to manage. And it's you sound like you managed it well, but it caught up to you, right? So when did you buy the Cape May house? When did you start? How did Cape May come into your life? Was that something you and your husband always went to? Is that like your family vacation spot? Like, I want to hear more about how you just got to like Cape May blog.
So again, I feel like the universe guided me. We went to Cape May for our very first wedding anniversary. We stayed at a bed and breakfast called Rhythm of the Sea. And I had always wanted to go. And he had gone when he was a kid to Stone Harbor, and they would always visit Cape May, but they never stayed in Cape May. We fell in love with Cape May. And so every year, virtually, we came down, even if it was for a long weekend. And we rented or we stayed a couple days, but always came every week. Even like one year we took the kids to Europe for a big vacation, and literally we're in the airport and my son says, so when are we going to Cape May? And I was like, but we just were like, we were just in a big vacation. And he's like, but can't we just do a weekend? So, I mean, they fell in love too. So we've had the house now it'll be 12 years this year.
Okay.
When my mom passed, she left me a little money. And I always say it wasn't really like, she just lasted longer than my dad, right? So it wasn't her necessarily. I feel like I need to give him some credit too. It wasn't like an inheritance, right? But it was a nice amount of money. And I didn't want to do something sort of sterile with it and just put it into, a Vanguard account or whatever and just let it go. So I thought, you know what? I want to use it for a down payment for a house at the beach. And it's actually worked out beautifully because we used that money for the down payment. We kicked in a little bit more because we originally started looking for condos. And that was where our head was at. And our realtor said, all right, I'm going to take you to condos, but I'm also going to take you to a couple single family houses. And that's where we ended up. We ended up it's a half a house, but it's not a condo. We own it outright. And so it's worked out in that we put the down payment and now we rent it most of the summer. So the rental pays, for the most part, covers the mortgage, covers the insurance and the utilities and all that good stuff. We get to use it in the spring and the fall. which is beautiful. When the kids were younger and they were all in sports, we didn't use it as much as Jordan. I use it now. But it's been a wonderful thing. And I always think of like my dad was whispering in my ear to do this, because it's been a great investment. And we've had so many memories, and we shared it with so many friends and so many families. And it's been great. And again, I feel incredibly blessed. And again, back to, I feel like we were meant to do that. And when we were looking, the last time we went as a family to look at the last group of properties. My daughter and I, Rachel, had been going on little reconnaissance missions. Actually, my husband was not on board with this. He was resisting it. He did not think it was a good idea. He thought it was super scary. So we don't know what we're doing. We've never done this before. What if we lose everything? What if the bottom drops out? I was on a mission. I was like, no, we're doing this. So I wore him down, but originally Rachel went with me. We went as a family, the four of us, to the last one. And we stayed in a hotel and stayed overnight because we had a full day of looking at properties. And when his father passed, we would get pennies. And we would always say, Papa left a penny. Like if the kids had a really hard test that day, they'd look down and there'd be a penny on the floor in the classroom, right? So I said, all right, guys, the house we find the penny in today is the house we're supposed to buy.
Oh, I have chills. I have chills.
So we go to, this is the last house we look at, and it's not what we originally asked for at all. So we're talking to the realtor. Jordan and I are on the first floor. There's 3 floors to the house. My daughter comes screaming down the stairs. So she's 10, right? Comes screaming down the stairs. I found the penny. I found the penny. We have to buy this house. And I'm like, I'm not in front of the realtor. This is the house. We have to buy it. And we did end up buying it. And we bought it right before Hurricane Sandy. Yeah, that was awesome. We didn't get a ton of damage, but we got a fair amount of damage. Blessed compared to a lot of other people. So I have perspective, but yeah, we got it. So we knew there was a leak in our roof, and literally the day Sandy hit was the day the roofer was supposed to come. And so he texted, he goes, you guys know I can't come, right? Like there's like an actual hurricane coming. And we're like, yes, we understand. So my husband literally flew down to the beach and cut a hole in the ceiling to direct the water in, but it didn't work. It literally blew out the ceiling and all the plaster came down, and we had seaweed on our front porch and it took out our air conditioning units. But again, compared to other people, we were blessed. But it's been a great experience. We had raccoons in the wall one time. That was fun. But there's always something. But so that's how we ended up in Cape May, and that's how we ended up at the house. And like I said, I love sharing it with people, and I love talking about it. And I just feel like there's something about being there. Like you cross over the causeway and I can feel my blood pressure drop. They say that actually there's a belief that much like in Sedona, where there is that level of energy, that because you've got the Delaware and the Atlantic, that there is actually energy that people are feeling when they come to Cape May that makes them feel relaxed and happy and just a little bit elevated in their energy. And
I love that.
Perfect sense. And that's, and there's a lot of quartz, and the quartz kind of has that effect as well.
Yeah. People buy quartz in crystal shops, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of it in like
that's
just
amazing.
in the ground there. So,
I totally never knew that. I never knew that about Cape May, and I feel like I just learned a whole lot.
So yeah, so that's how,
Jane, it's a great story. It's a great, way to honor your mom. It's your dad with the penny, like it was all meant to be. It's a great story. And, I feel like that always helps people understand, right? Like how you eventually got the fact that you guys went on your first anniversary, like from your son saying, when are we going, like it's all part of it. A side note, I think you need to write a book. Just planting that seed. I'm just planting that seed. I don't know if you thought about it, but I'm just going to put it out there. And I love the fact that you said that your husband wasn't, he was, was nervous to take the risk. But there, if you look at it, he's the Vanguard guy, right? He's got everything, all the
Yeah.
ducks in a row. And for him, it was probably safer to invest it than
Yes.
you're doing. And had
Exactly.
you not, what the cool, I love stuff like this. That's why when you were sharing your story, when, last week or when we spoke, I said, it all kind of, you look back and it's all kind of moments that links together. Right. And
Mhm.
the fact that you decided to do it, because had you not trusted your gut, and it's cool that it was like your mom's money. So felt like you can do something with it. And I feel like I would do the same thing. And I think she's probably up there smiling, like so grateful that you did what you did.
Well, the coolest thing, the first weekend that we were there after we purchased the house,
I feel like I'm gonna get
my
chills
daughter
again.
and I were walking on the beach. Now, this is October. It was cold. We both had sweatpants and sweatshirts on. It was cold. So we're on the beach, just like trying to wrap our minds around the fact that we actually did this, right? Because she was my partner in crime through the whole thing. And I swear to God, 4 little butterflies, 2 and 2, came down the beach, little yellow ones, not butterfly season. And you very seldom see butterflies
Never
at
see
the
one.
beach,
Never at the
right?
beach.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was not butterfly season. It wasn't like the monarchs had long since migrated and moved on down south. This was like right before Halloween. 4 little butterflies, 2 and 2, just came right past us. And Rachel was like, oh, I think we kind of got our blessing.
Oh, see, that needs to be in the book. All right. So you get to the blog, right? You start sharing your blog, and that's lighting up and you're feeling fueled by that, right?
Mhm.
And then do you do that weekly? Is that how?
So I write a post every 2 weeks. And then when I write the post, I send out an email to my subscribers and give them the link to the post. And then I also have a Facebook presence and an Instagram presence because social media is a necessary evil. It's not my favorite thing to do,
Right.
but it gets me traction, and I like to interact because people will comment on pictures and ask me questions, and I go back and forth. And a lot of my subscribers will ask me questions like, I'm coming with my sister, what restaurant do you recommend we go to really celebrate, kind of thing. I have people that live in Cape May and know it as well as I do and just like to hear more about it. And then I have people that have never been before and found me and are asking questions. So these things take time. Everybody thinks it's like one of those magic sponges that starts out flat and you put water on it and it grows. It takes time. I mean, the people that are out there, even on YouTube, most of them, the ones that you see all the time, have been doing it for years. It's not an overnight thing, but it brings me joy and I like it. And one of the my favorite stories about it was I had a subscriber and she writes me an email and it starts with the first time I saw Cape May, I fell off the turnip truck, and in parentheses it said the potato truck. I was a young recruit going into the Coast Guard because all of the Coast Guard enlisted training is done in Cape May. Wow. All over the country. So
wow,
she
I did
came
not know that.
Idaho at 18 years of age. And she said the bus came at night. And so I couldn't see anything. And then we had to stay on base for like 6 weeks or something. She said, but then we were able to do runs through town. And she said, I fell in love. And it's one of my favorite places in the whole world. I now live in Florida, but I'm so glad I found your blog. And it's been such a joy to be able to feel like I'm back there again. And so she helped me write a blog post on the Coast Guard and all about the Coast Guard. And we've kept in touch and we email back and forth every once in a while. She is always the first person to like every post that I post. But it's just things like that just, it's so, am I making money off of it right now? Not yet.
Right.
I'm going to be completely honest. I have 2 nonprofit jobs is what I typically say. But it will come. I believe it will come. And right now it's just, I feel good about it and I enjoy it. And it's not heavy lifting. I think, at some point, when I have enough volume and traffic, there are other things I can do, but I'm starting to develop relationships with people and that kind of thing. So it's been fun.
Huge. Wait, so when did you start the blog?
I started it December 1st because it's my son's birthday,
Okay.
2020.
Wow.
So yes,
There's a
so I
positive to
left,
come out of that, right?
I left VMware I resigned from VMware in February of 2020.
Okay.
And then I started that in December 1st.
Awesome.
So it's been, it's been a while, but again, these things take time and I'm steadily growing. I'm definitely steadily growing and getting more relationships. So it's been a lot of fun. And it's been one of the other things that was on my list is I wanted to learn and do new things. And this was definitely a learning curve. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I signed up for a course and there were so many things that I didn't even realize were part of it. So that's, one of the things that's continues to be really important to me is learning new things. I'm all about, my husband laughs at me. I'm all about neuroplasticity, doing new things, challenging yourself so that you're making new connections in your brain so that you keep active and you keep alert and you keep, being excited by stuff. So it's not rote and routine.
I honestly feel like people need to hear that more because I feel like there's a lot of people that say the opposite, like, oh, I'm this age and, why would I do that now? Or, there, and it's all ages, right? It's from, young to old. And it's like, we have to keep trying new things because like you said, it's great for your brain. It's keeping you healthy and strong and exciting, right? Like if you don't try new things, how do you know? And things change constantly.
They
They
do.
change constantly. So that's amazing that you have that attitude. And I think more people can really benefit from hearing that more because I think people get stuck in their heads. They maybe took an art class when they were in their, teenage years and they want to do it again, but that maybe they're holding back because it wasn't a good experience then, or there's always things to kind of, it's funny that you said that it was a learning curve because I was going to say, like, did people ask you like, how'd you start your blog or, because that's something that's a new territory. You just jumped right in and you figured it out, right? Like everything is kind of figure outable, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And I took a class, like I took a class, I watched a million YouTube videos.
Right.
And the class was really good. It was online and it was, you did it with a set group of people and you had regular calls and that sort of thing. But she literally walked you through everything from, how to set the thing up in the first place, the mindset you should have, thinking about who's your subscriber, write for the subscriber, don't write for yourself, write for your audience. Be focused and intentional. Don't be all over the place. Have an actual plan and a strategy, like even, using that into social media.
Right.
I have a personal Instagram and I have a work Instagram. I do appear in my work Instagram, but my personal life isn't there. I'm not toggling back and forth between pictures of my dog and things or, things around the house. I'm always focused on that part, on stuff with Cape May. I may be in the pictures. I may be the one in Cape May, because that is another part of it is you can't not, that was really hard, is being that person. Cause I'm not, I'm camera shy by and large. So getting my first, like I had to do a photo shoot. So I had professional pictures for the blog. That was one of the things she said is you have to have a photo shoot. Don't go to don't have your husband do it. Don't have your best friend do it. Like actually pay somebody that knows what they're doing to take your picture. It's super important. that was the first time I'd ever had like a photo shoot like that. Like I had my wedding pictures and that kind of thing, but having somebody, just me, the subject of the photo was really weird. I kind of liked it too.
How did you feel after? You liked it, you said?
Yeah, I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I kind of liked it. I thought I was going to be super nervous and I really wasn't. And my photographer, Dawn and Cape May was amazing. So yeah, you know, it was a learning curve. There was a lot of stuff, and I'm still learning. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly watching stuff and reading stuff and trying to figure out how to get better SEO or what products would make sense for me to sell. But it's again, it's challenging, and I don't want to be that person that is just sort of, you know, existing and not trying new things and trying to grow all the time.
Right. Well, and I think I like the fact that you said yet, like you're not making money on it yet. Yet's huge words there, right? And I feel like you have to take baby steps over time, and that gives you the results, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the instant society that we're in, it's like hard, but I
Yeah.
think you're doing the right thing, and and it's bringing you joy, right? When
Yeah.
you're doing something, it's bringing you joy. I feel like sometimes things like you work, and you know, in a traditional job, you'd work 5 hours, you get paid 5 hours, right? Something like a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel, you work and work and work and work, and then eventually you know, something bigger around, you know, comes out of it, right?
Mhm.
So it's keeping with it, and the mindset. I like that you use the word mindset, because that's huge.
Yeah,
It sounds like
exactly.
the class was a big payoff. It sounds like
It
it was good.
was.
Yeah, that's good.
It was.
That's good. All right. So then how did you tell us about the Wings for Success a little bit, and then we'll get into your reinvention.
So once again, the universe showed up. I was on Instagram, and I follow Classic Diner in Fraser, and they had posted that they were so grateful to be able to work with Wings for Success in their most recent event. And I was like, Wings for Success, never heard of them. Looked them up. Went on their website, filled out the volunteer form, and I checked every box but cleaning. Don't like to clean my own house, don't want to clean theirs. And Jill, the director, called me up and said, I realized you just filled out, you filled out a volunteer form and you're not necessarily looking for anything, but we have an opening for a part-time operations person. Would you consider coming in and talking to me about it? So I said, certainly. And so I went in, I got a tour of there's 2 locations, got a tour of the one that's closest to me. Probably spent about an hour with Jill and realized, first of all, she's a wonderful person, somebody I would love to work for and with. And then I was really inspired by the organization. We help women of all ages and all everything, either to get their like a first job, to bump up in their career, to change careers, through originally it was apparel. So outfits for interviews, outfits for the first couple, weeks of their job, or in the case of somebody in healthcare, helping them with scrubs. Our Kennett office is not primarily focused, but there's a huge population there that works in the mushroom business.
Okay.
So they need clothes that are warm and layered and that sort of thing. But we also then branched out a couple years ago and also do workshops and coaching and things of that nature, everything from interview skills to how to budget, how to, start, like if you've never worked in a job before, kind of like the etiquette of the things that you do and that sort of thing, to kind of give that level of coaching. We do workshops and we do one-on-ones. So it really resonated with me that, what a wonderful way to give back. What a wonderful way to help. And especially, with the economy the way it is right now, we're seeing people come in more and more for that kind of help.
Wow. Wow. Meant to be.
Yeah,
Meant to be.
it was.
And then how long have you been there? When was that?
So I also started there on December 1st.
Oh, wow. Same
In
year?
Pardon?
Same year, 2020?
2021.
Oh, wow. Wow. So I wonder what's going to happen the next couple December 1st.
I know, it's weird, right? Because it was just, it was literally around Thanksgiving, and Jill said, when would you like your start date to be? You can pick, what it's got to be soon, but I said December 1st, because it just made sense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think it's neat how it's evolved from just, attire to workshops and all that kind of stuff. And where do you learn that stuff, right? You don't learn it in school. You don't learn how, there's a lot of things that we're not taught, that, like balancing a checkbook. I wish that was a course in college
Yeah.
or in high school, right? Like we didn't learn that stuff. So it's
No.
awesome that your organization is doing, things like that. It's awesome.
Yeah. So we have everything from, literally girls and women in high school, up to women that are grandmothers that maybe have, raised children and are going back and haven't worked in a very long time. So they need, refreshers on stuff. They just haven't done it. And they just need that boost of confidence,
I
right?
was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, the clothing gives them the boost of confidence. Having
Yes.
the thing, there's a workshop we do called New Choices. We just added a all in Spanish one, which has been wonderful. But it basically I think it's 10 weeks. And it takes through every, all sorts of phases of things, little modules. And then it concludes with a graduation, and they get their headshots, and they really are prepared to, again, either start from scratch or maybe make a change. Maybe they really want to do something different, and they need that guidance and that coaching and that support to give them the confidence, but also the knowledge of the things that they could do to move into something different.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I can see how that would resonate with you, because it's like you said, you're always trying new things. And I love the name of I love the name of the organization too. It says a lot.
Yeah, it
It
does.
says a lot. It feels like and isn't that logo a butterfly?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
See, interesting.
It is.
Interesting.
The whole metamorphosis of, becoming something else and something beautiful.
Well, yeah, and you're walking the beach with the 4 butterflies when you bought your Cape May house. Like that was a new, the butterfly thing seems to appear in your life, which is awesome.
Well,
I have a
that's my, I have this thing where if I need to ask a question, I need guidance, I will say, if I'm supposed to do this, show me a butterfly. So that's always been my thing, has always been a butterfly, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah. Or is it? Right? That's awesome. That's awesome. And I like the penny thing with your dad. I think that's pretty cool. What was it? Pop left a penny?
Yeah, it was Gerard's dad, but yes, it was left the penny, would always leave pennies. Still does.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so then, now you're doing those 2 things, and then what's your next step? You sound like you have training coming up. Tell us about that and how
Yeah.
that came about, because that's a pretty cool story.
So I'm super excited. So my very, very, very first route when I was back in college originally was to be a psychologist. Life happened. I won't go down that long road, but I had to quit school. And when I went back to school and I got my degree, I got it in business because that was the most expeditious path to income. I only needed 2 more years and then I could rock and roll. So it's not what I wanted to do. I wasn't passionate about it. I ended up being good at it, but it's not what I wanted to do. So it's always kind of bothered me because it was circumstances outside of my control that led me to not be able to finish in the first place. But going back and becoming a psychologist, then later I got married and then we had kids, and Cisco would have paid for me to go back to school, but they would have paid for me to go back to something relative, which makes sense, relevant to them, not to me. So I never finished it, and I kind of always felt like there was this little hole. So
Did you know what that hole was, or do you just?
I wanted to help people in that way, right? Because that was my whole thing. So in January, my daughter and I went to a shaman in Fraser
This year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had asked her during my session about my career as in the corporate world, and how, like, I just felt like doors were closing and things were like something that I thought when I went into it was going to be great just became so not great. And she said, because you were being redirected to something else. And I said, well, what am I being redirected to? And she said, you were supposed to be helping people. She said, you got closer to it with wings, but you're actually helping the people that are helping people, because I'm operations. So I'm behind the scenes.
Right.
So she said, if there's anything you could possibly do, what would you do? And I said, I think I'd become a hypnotherapist, because that is right. It kind of is
So random.
right. And she said, well, then go become a hypnotherapist. And I said, I can't. I don't have a foundation in social work, or I don't have a degree in psychology or anything. She said, you really don't need that. You don't. So she said, I would explore schools. So literally a week later, my husband and I were driving to Wayne on 30. And on the way back from going to the Wayne Farmers Market, there's a big building that says the Center for Wellness. And I said to my husband, I've always wondered what that building is. We've passed it a million times. I'm going to look it up. And I thought it was like a spa or a health club or something. No, it's a hypnotherapy school. So I will be starting in May.
The universe is like, woo, woo,
Yeah,
woo.
exactly. I'll be starting in May. I'm super excited. And then when I'm done, assuming I get pass my certification, I will be certified by, I want to say, the American Guild of Hypnotists, which is the largest and oldest hypnotist organization. So I'm really excited about it. I just feel like everybody thinks about it as like you're going to help people quit smoking or weight loss or whatever. But there's also, a lot of use of helping people to overcome anxiety, maybe not major anxiety that really requires medication, but test anxiety, things like that. Phobias, like I am terrified of water. Like when people are practicing on me, that's what I'm going to ask them to work on for me is I can be in water as long as I can stand up. If I can't stand up, I am terrified.
Toes, right? And like in a pool, in a lake, is it all water?
Yes, because when I was really little, I almost drowned, and I can't get past that. It's like in the back of my head. So there's things like that, right?
I didn't realize that.
And it's one of those things that you can have clients, and then you can also help people that maybe couldn't afford it. So I can have that balance of stuff, and I can do it as much or as little as I want, so I can fit it into things. And I can also, as long as I keep my faculties about me, which I hope to do through my neuroplasticity, I can continue to do this. Like there's it's not like there's an age limit on it. The woman who's actually runs the school, I believe she said she's in her 70s.
Wow.
And she's been doing it for a long time. So yes, I'm reinventing myself. I don't know how it's going to go. But I feel super drawn to it, and I feel like it is a good thing. And again, the worst case scenario is that I've learned something new and I've met some new people, and I've got new experiences, and I am a little nervous that like, what if I can't do it? But I figure there's, that's just I've got to get over myself.
So can you do group classes too with hypnotherapy, or is it just like more one-on-one stuff? What does that look like?
So the actual hypnotherapy is one-on-one, because you're literally putting someone in like a trance.
Got it. Are they laying down? Are they sitting? Or where are they standing?
Whatever is most comfortable for them. So they could be sitting, they can be laying down. When COVID hit, a lot of this turned into being on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
So there's also no physical barrier. I can do it in person. I can do it via Zoom.
Right.
But it's you're talking them into being in a state where they are tapping into their subconscious, and they're working in that realm. and then you bring that back into their daily lives. So, and you can only, it only works if the person really wants to do it. So
Right.
if somebody's, all right, some guy's wife is like, you've got to quit smoking. And he's like, I don't really want to quit smoking. She's
Right.
making me come here. It's not going to work, right?
Right.
Like
That's a
you
great
really have
example.
to want to quit smoking.
That's a great
Um,
example. So is it something too, like, is it something where you could, is it like one and done kind of thing? Or is it like a cumulative thing like acupuncture? Like I know for acupuncture, it's like, you got to go a couple times before it like kind of, um,
you do have
not that it's
to,
like,
you do
like,
have to go, yeah, you do have to go a couple times.
yeah,
It's typically not, but it's not like, and I'm not being negative in any way, shape, or form with talk therapy, because I think that's hugely beneficial and lots of people need it.
yeah.
But for certain situations, what would take you maybe a year through talk therapy to get to, you could possibly, certain situations, 5 sessions,
Wow.
and
Right.
be done with it.
Right.
And then there's things like past life regression,
Love it.
which I don't know, we'll see, but that would be just one. You know, you're taking that person into that, and I've never done it myself,
Oh, this is so exciting.
um,
I'm so excited for you.
but I know people that have,
Yeah.
and you know, they've had really interesting experiences. So that's something else you could do with that as well.
With the training, you could do past life regret. Wow. Wow. You, and like I said, when we spoke, you can practice something whenever you want.
I will have to do a lot of practicing. I really, really
Yeah,
will.
I
That's
would
what,
love to. I would love to be a part of that. It sounds amazing. You have me very, you have my curiosity very piqued.
yeah, that's one of the
I don't
things
know
that,
anybody who does hypnotherapy. I
oh,
think it's pretty cool that like, I don't know. I think this is a kind of a cool deal, kind of a big
and
thing.
that's, you know, that is actually surprising because that's what she said as well. She said a lot of her, first of all, because of COVID, a lot of her students are anywhere in the US, so they're not necessarily physically here where we live. She said a lot of them are actually psychologists who are adding into the
Whoa,
toolkit.
that's crazy because that was your beginning path.
Mhm.
Jane, that's amazing. That's like that's pretty cool. And when you said last week about the hypnotherapy stuff, I wasn't expecting you to say that. Like when you were like, and in May I'm starting this training, and I was like, I was completely intrigued. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And here's the thing, I love alternative healing. I love anything that you can do to put in a little work to kind of reap the benefits, and whether it's meditation or hypnotherapy or there's a lot of alternative healing things. And I like the fact that you brought up the trauma part, because I think a lot of us suffer from trauma, and if hypnotherapy can be something that helps us work through that or heal it or whatever it takes, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah,
That's pretty powerful stuff. But like you said, it, again, everything I think always goes back to mindset. Like you gotta want it. You have to want the help. I mean, I say it all the time. The body has an amazing ability to heal. Sometimes you just some people have to put in more work than others, right?
exactly. Agreed.
And some people are more willing to do the work than others, right? That's probably the
Exactly.
more accurate statement. But it's hard to do the work, and it sounds like you're doing it, and it seems like it's come full circle. So, if you would tell anyone that was thinking about reinventing themselves or starting a new chapter or following something that you were supposed to do 20 years, but life got in the way, and you're back on track, like what is like 1 or 2 or 3 tips that you would tell someone to, like, if someone said to you, like, what do I need to do? What would you say?
So first thing I would say is get over the fear of failure and not being able to do it. Because if you never try, you fail 100% of the time.
Right.
And there's always something good. Even if you fail and you try something again, you've always learned something, you've always had an experience, you've almost always met someone. There's always goodness that comes out of it. It may not be easy, but I think there's always a benefit from it. And I would say, the other thing is, it wasn't easy to do. Like I said, our lifestyle has changed. Financially, we're not in the same boat that we were when I was making 6 figures. Not by a long stretch, but, look at the balance of the things that are important to you and the things that resonate with you. And, I think on not being judgy in any way, shape, or form, but I think as a society, we're just so focused on, we have to get that promotion and that higher thing and that bigger thing, and everything has to be more and more. And in many cases, we're making ourselves absolutely miserable. And at the end of the day, they always say, like, somebody that is transitioning into the next life, never says, I wish I'd worked more. I wish that I had done this. They would say, I wish I spent more time with my family, with my friends, that I did more things that made me happy, that I walked to the beach more, whatever. So, trying to look at the balance of that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's great advice for sure. And trust yourself, right? Trust yourself.
Exactly.
Trust yourself.
Exactly.
That whisper can get loud, and you gotta trust yourself. So, all right. Well, I'm super inspired by your story, and I can't wait to see where this hypnotherapy stuff takes you. And if there's anything exciting that's happening this December 1st, keep me posted.
Yeah, I will. You never know.
But I like to ask a couple questions, and just so the listeners know, like, I don't tell the questions ahead of time. I just kind of wing it and see what happens. So I like your first reaction answer. What is a book that has completely changed your life, or that really influenced you?
Gabby Bernstein's The Universe Has Your Back.
Great one. That's a great one. Give us one fun fact about you, something we don't know.
Fun fact.
Or just something that I feel like fun fact's not the right word. Just tell us something that we don't know about you.
So, as part of, I'm going to go to the one we talked about the other day. As part of my journey with the blog, I got asked to do videos for the Cape May Lewis Ferry. So if anybody takes the ferry, they will likely see me on the big screen, either talking about fun things to do with kids, or the zoo, or Christmas in Cape May. So that was fun. That was, again, one of those unexpected, did not expect them to ask me to do it. I'm sort of camera shy. So it got me out of my comfort zone big time.
Well, I love that you said twice that you're camera shy, and here you are on videos for Cape May.
And I volunteered too.
I freaking love it. What's your superpower? What's something you can like something that you're really good at, or just what's your superpower? Like what can you like kick butt with?
I think that and hopefully this will serve me in my hypnotherapy thing. I think I can sort of read people's energy, and I can feel when they need something, a kind word, a hug, whatever. I think I'm a little more in tune to that than other people. And I'm always, when I do feel that way, I'm always feel honored and blessed if I can help out in any small way. So that's what I would have to say my superpower would be.
I love that. Because that's a lot. Picking up on energy is a lot, and being aware and noticing that stuff. That's cool. That's awesome. Favorite place that you've been to besides Cape May?
I would have to say Paris. I loved Paris, and I didn't think I was going to like Paris. I put it on our list of things to go to when we took the kids to Europe. I didn't think we went to London, Paris, and Rome. I thought that Paris was going to be the third on my list. It was actually the first on my list. People were lovely. I expected a bit of a attitude but people were absolutely lovely. And it was just a pretty town, and it was very clean. And just very, at least the parts that we were in. And it was just lovely. And I love the history of it.
So did you like Emily in Paris? You like that show, Emily in Paris? Did you watch that? So cute.
Mm-hmm.
Portray it well, because I've never been.
It was awesome.
One piece of advice for listeners.
I would say one piece of advice is just when you've got that little voice that's saying something, don't think it's not something. Now I'm not saying react to every last one of it, but sit with it and really think and say, am I being guided? Is this something that is something telling me, whether it's coming from yourself, your inner being is your wise advocate, as some people call it. Is it coming from your ancestors? Is it coming from whomever?
I like that you brought the ancestors up. That's interesting.
But I just, sit with it and think about, is this something you, and don't just dismiss it as, oh, I'm sure that was nothing. I'm sure it was. Because like you said before, I look back at the threads of my past and I look at things that, like, I came very close to telling the people at the temp agency that I did not want to do that reception job. But a little voice in the back of my head said, go ahead and do it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? And it turned out 20 years later, I was still there, right? And at a company that is phenomenal. I loved working there. I was crazy, but it was a good company to be at.
Yeah, and you were raising two humans.
Yes.
Right? Like financially, it was probably the best time to do it, right?
It was.
I mean, what I think, for most of us is the case is you go through that to get the tools you need for the next step, right? And the next step was the blog, and then it was the Wings for Success. And now I'm really excited to see where this hypnotherapy stuff goes, because I feel like it's a pretty cool thing. So I'm excited for you. Where can we find you? Give us your website, your social. I'll put all that stuff in the notes too, but where can we find you?
So katemaydays.com is my blog. And then it's super simple. That's also my Facebook, and that's also my Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we always end each episode by 5 breaths, because I like to send people on their way feeling nice and relaxed. That was a great conversation. Again, I'm super inspired by your story, and that's why you're here. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to plant the feet to the floor if you can. Create some grounding there. You can sit, I was going to say crisscross applesauce on the floor if you like. You can sit up against the wall. You can lie on your back if you're, I love to breathe and drive. So if you're driving, make sure you keep your eyes open. But you can do this while you drive. You want to stack your shoulders over the hips. You want to stack your shoulders over the hips. Actually, driving can be it could be very therapeutic if you focus just on the breath and be really aware and in your bodies, right? So, and we practice that here sometimes. So sit up nice and tall, shoulders over the hips, top of the head, like reaching up towards the sky. And then as you take a deep breath in, I want you to drop your shoulders away from your ears. So your hands, let's talk about your hands. Your palms can be facing up. You can bring your pointer finger and your thumb together. Your palms can be facing down if you want a little bit more grounding. You can keep your eyes open or keep them shut. I just want you to just start to notice and feel and kind of tune in, right? So when we tune into our surroundings, when we tune into our breath, it helps us achieve a deeper sense of peace. So take a deep breath in. See if you can fill all the way up, and then pause at the top of the inhale, and then completely let it go. For the first one, open the mouth and push all the air out. So it's, you can keep the mouth open or closed. Take a deep breath in. This time, take another sip of air at the top, and then completely let it go. Feel your shoulders soften on the exhale. 3 more. I want your inhale longer, and I want your exhale even longer. Deep breath in. Keep sucking in air, and then pause at the top. Sip in a little bit more, and then completely empty it out. Push all the air out. A lot of times we forget about the exhale, so keep pushing that air out. We got 2 more breaths. Deep breath in. Keep taking in air. When you feel like you're all filled up, pause, and then take another sip, and then completely let it go. The magic is in the pause, right? Blow it all out. Last one here, deep breath in. More air, pause, and then completely flush it out. So if you can, try to bring that with you throughout the rest of your day. Go ahead and flutter your eyes open. Maybe do a little neck roll here. Oh my gosh, these are brutal. If you're doing the neck roll, make sure you go both ways. And then thank you so much for coming. It was a great show, and I appreciate you all being here. Until next time, namaste.
Take care.